Hello, my name is Dr. Seth Jenny. I am an assistant professor in the Department of Exercise and Rehabilitative Sciences. And we have here Kevin, if you want to introduce yourself, please.
Yes, hello everybody, and thank you, Seth, for sharing with me this presentation. I'm Kevin Vazquez from Esports in Canarias, and also from the University of La Laguna and ADL research team, physical and health educator.
Awesome. So today I'm going to be interviewing you and asking you questions about active digital living for health and physical educators. And so some of the topics that I'm interested in that we can hopefully cover is ADL concept and goals, physical activity and sports transformation, benefits of digital solutions, as well as actions for physical and health educators and coaches. And so our presentation goals, by the end of this presentation, we hope that you will be able to, number one, describe the concept of active digital living. Throughout this presentation, we'll call it ADL. Understand how physical activity, exercise, and sport can be enhanced through technology. Reevaluate the role of health and physical educators in regards to using ADL principles to enhance health. So we really hopefully you can take some practical learnings from this presentation and implement it into your practice. So Kevin, my first question to you is, what is ADL, active digital living?
Yes, so the vision of ADL is an acronym of Active Digital Living. It's about the positive use of digital technology in order to promote the general lifestyle and well-being of our citizens in the city. And all of this through the integration of physical and digital environments interaction. So here we have the example in the picture. So we have a human and a robot hands. And yes, in the next slide, we have the three main pillars.
Yeah, so what is ADL?
Yes, so in the ADL concept, we analyze transversely three pillars, and the first one is people. Well, in people, we talk about all inhabitants that live in the city and their interactions. So we talk about the society. And the second one is the technology. It's very important. So we include digital solutions and digital tools, but also the digital transformation process that we are living now, and also increase because of the pandemic. And also the last one is the space, is where the people develop their activities using the technology and their interactions. So we include landscapes, urban realms, and parks, for example, and it's really important to focus in schools or private spaces as homes or offices.
Yeah, and as I'm looking at these principles, it really makes me think of motor learning principles when you're thinking about how the environment and the task and the learner all interact together to try to teach people motor skills. And so here we're talking about how the people, as well as their environment that they're in, how technology can influence things. So that's pretty neat. So our next question, what is overall goal of ADL?
Yes, so these three pillars have been established in order to create a new interaction with a human-centered vision. So they want to improve the experience of citizens and also the physical activity in our cities. But all of this is through three main aspects. The first one is physically, socially, and emotionally. It's not only about the physical aspect, it also includes social and emotional parts. So we can say that ADL's goals is to design the life in the city, but using the technology positively.
Mm-hmm. So it's a holistic approach, which is great. So how can a city impact physical activity?
Yeah, so we have different urban professionals and teachers that are thinking in this aspect. So, for example, in the urban design that we have nowadays, we have urban planning, we have transportations, we have parks, but all of these aspects have an influence in our physical activity. So it's really important to have this in consideration for our designs and our future projects, also in physical education. So, for example, Carlos Moreno is rethinking about the concept of a city of 15 minutes, where you can go everywhere, cycling or walking, in 15 minutes. It's really simple, but reactivating people and without cars. Another one is Maria Tomé, who is Spanish, and she also is working about the concept playmaking, and it's about to improve the cities and also throw the people. But she includes the aspect that we have to use the dynamics and mechanics of video games. That could be very interesting.
Yeah.
One. So here in the slide, we have two examples. The first one is the imagine to have this LED panel in our cities to go running. And this is an example from Nike. And they, for example, use it in a run, and this LED panel can track our running and motivate us to follow this rhythm, for example.
Yeah, you know what? I've actually seen this at an expo in a video where people can pretend like they're running the 100 meters against Usain Bolt, and the LED runner runs the pace that Usain Bolt did for the world record 100 meters, and so people try to race against to see how fast he runs, which is pretty fun and unique to try to get people active.
Yes, also in groups, also in individual, could be interesting in both. So yes, this is the second example is about the solar path for cycling. Is very interesting. Is for design of our parks, of our urban planning, have an influence in our physical activity, and this is an example of how can I go cycling everywhere with more motivation. So too many concepts we have here about the urban planning, but the methodology of how to introduce a digital layer is needed in our cities. So ADL aims to do that.
Awesome. So how is physical activity in sports being transformed through ADL?
Yeah, so now COVID-19 is the central topic around the world in healthy problems. But during the lockdown, our routine, our habits have been changed. Our moods changed. For example, diet also changed. Our physical activity and our sleep all changed in a negative way. So we have an example here that in China, during the first COVID outbreak, they start a lockdown, and 60% of people engage in inadequate physical activity. So this is an important impact that we have during this pandemic. But also we can't forget the other problems that start before the pandemic, healthy problems that we have a preventive effects using the physical activity and exercise. So we are talking about non-communicable disease, cancer, diabetes, obesity. So because that means that 71% of total deaths globally, as the World Health Organization said. So it's also important to have in consideration. So here we have
so how's is it all right if I advance the slide here? Yep.
Yes, it's right.
Awesome.
So here
how is physical activity being specifically transformed through ADL?
Yes, we start talking about the physical activity and exercise that we have in the lockdown. in the first picture we have in this slide is about the worldwide fitness trend for 2021, and exercise at home turned into online training and also in virtual training in the sixth position and the first position, both of them. And this is really important digital transformation that we have. We are turning into hybrid spaces using digital and physical interaction.
Yeah, and even physical education teachers are teaching, and health education teachers are teaching through Zoom and online modes as well, which is one of those impacts of COVID-19.
Yes, also it's a very important adaptation that we have. So here we will see a different solution that we can use. And also we have different business as Apple Fitness Plus that start investing in digital solutions. But before the pandemic, we have another startups. For example, this picture is from Mirror Fitness, and these are digital solutions that we can use at home with a real-time teacher for doing exercise and receiving and streaming feedback. So it's a very interactive platform and very useful and more comfortable than use a tablet or computer.
Yeah, and I've seen it's almost similar to Peloton with the stationary bike in those apps and the treadmill where you have a online personal trainer. Oh, here's another example.
It's really similar, but here we have the another example is Tempo. They use in the next picture we have AI is artificial intelligence, and this upgrades this product because this is an example of how to use the technology positively, because it helps the teacher to give a more effective feedback.
So the AI would track the weight on the person's shoulders and let them know whether they had incorrect form.
Yes, also yes, track the weight and also the technique that you must to do.
Oh, that's awesome.
And here is the last example. It's about that not only exercise and physical activity is turning into home spaces, it's also education, as you said, and teleworking and work.
Yeah.
So there is an interesting study from Gensler Research about work and about what we are working or how we are working now. And 50% of people in USA are working at home during the lockdown. But the real question, or the important question, is what will we work after pandemic? How we want to work after the pandemic? The people survey said that they want a hybrid model of work. They want to spend some time at home and sometimes at their offices. So we have to this aspect in consideration.
That's interesting, because some of the research I've done on online learning has what I've found is that a blended approach, a hybrid approach, where part of it's online and part of it is face-to-face, is the most effective technique for learning. And in actuality, I'm actually wearing these pants right now.
Okay.
Just joking. All right, next question. How about sports being transformed through ADL? How's the interaction of sports?
Yes, so in the sports fields we have for example, and we are talking about the esports. So esports are a big competitive form of video game use. So they have a very important impact around the world. So what we are doing here with esports, sorry about that.
Yeah, you're talking a lot. You need a drink. It's all good.
Yes. So yes, we are what we are doing with esports. We have given access to a wider space, to a wider digital space in competition. So a lot of universities and a lot of sports clubs want a esports team, maybe for promotion, maybe for interact with young people. It's very important to do that with education. We can't forget these teams or these programs, so we have to stay into this program. For example, we have 223 million of enthusiasts about esports, and this is an example of Fernando Alonso. He's professional car racer.
He's Formula One.
Yes, it's Formula One.
Yeah,
and he's a Spanish, and also he has a esports team, and he competes in traditional and in a digital sports. So this is a hybrid mode of competition.
Yeah, and actually the NASCAR this past year did some virtual events with the actual NASCAR drivers. And I know, I believe the 2018 Daytona 500, the one who's on pole position, they learned, I forget their name, but they learned how to drive through a simulator similar to this, which is really interesting. Transferable skills, physical skills from digital to real world motor skills.
Yes, it's really important also to introduce it in our planification if we want to improve the competitions teams in esports. And also here is the picture about the Olympic Games, because they want to include virtual sports or promote virtual sports in Olympic Games and use them for connect with young people. Another example that we have recently heard in news is about the next Olympic Games in 2024 in Paris. We will have a breakdance and a skateboard. They are really urban and youth people sports. So with digital sports could be the next step of international regulation of virtual sports and esports.
And the ones they're considering for the Olympics aren't necessarily the seeded, sedentary, traditional esports. They're more of the motion-based exergaming types of esports, correct?
Yes, it's also about the esports promotion using the exergames, the exercise game, but they want to first introduce the virtual sports. For example, is FIFA and football, or basketball and NBA 2K. Okay. Because they want to compare. They don't want to introduce League of Legends, for example, in the first time. In the future, maybe, but in the first time, esports.
All right, so how is physical activity in sports being transformed? Can we have some more examples of that?
Yes, we have two concepts here using the history of sports and exercise science. Here, the first one is homo ludens, and it's about the people who play, the people who use a game to play and interact with others. So everybody play and everybody want to do that. So we go forward to the Homo Sportivus. The Homo Sportivus is the beginning of the competition form of games. So here we have a simple example of basket. No, so we have a competition, we have a regulation system, we have a ranking, we have points. This is a very important concept from the history. But in the next slide, we have.
So this is almost like unstructured play to more organized and specific rules and regulations, is what you're saying?
Yes, for example, in the last slide, we have Homo ludens and Homo sportivus. Yes, so this is the only the game. So we use also in physical education lessons. So in the right side we have the sport, we have the competitive form.
Oh, game versus sport. I see what you're saying.
Yes.
Awesome.
But homo is refers to the people, refers to the human version. So here in ADL team, we think that we have evolution to the Homo gamer and Homo esportivus. So Homo gamer is the people who play but use a digital environment, use a video game, for example, as we can see an extra games there. This is supernatural and is really interesting, really,
Yeah.
really fun.
The virtual reality looks like.
Yes.
Should I start this video here?
Yes. So this video is about the Halo from Japan. This is an esport. So this is an extra game for doing exercise, and it's a really, really important competitions there. So we use mixed reality for play with others in teams, like a traditional game. I don't know how you say there in USA, but here is Brille, and is throwing balls, but they can use also tables for avoid the balls. Is
shields and screens. Interesting. Yeah.
Yes, we are all of these are virtual because they use mixed reality glasses.
Interesting. And so it probably just tracks the score, and so it's not an elimination type of game where at the end you just have a score count, correct?
Yes, they have a score count, and also they use the mobile phone in their waist, and also they have all the points and all their lives.
That's awesome.
The power charge is really,
So what benefits have positive digital solutions had to facilitate healthy lifestyles moving forward with ADL here?
Yes, so here we have too many positive solutions and benefits that we can use the technology in different places and different fields. So here we have to adapt in 4 main fields that have relation with physical education. So the first one is education in general and in concrete physical education. So the first picture and example is about how to use video games for teach sports. Here, as you write in your article,
yeah,
about NFL, how to use Madden, a video game of American football, can help the students or our students to learn more about tactics or players' positions and field layout. So it's really good. Maybe we could use video games with flipped classroom methodology.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be interesting to start with them. The second one is about driving simulator. So we could give wider access for sports that need expensive materials and expensive spaces. So, for example, we don't have a car racing in our schools, and we don't have a circuit. So maybe we can teach car racing using a simulator, maybe 1, 2, 3, or 4 simulators.
Sure.
In every school could be good.
Or like a community center could maybe host it with multiple schools utilizing the same equipment as well.
Okay, but they introduce simulators?
No, I'm saying that could be a possibility where multiple schools might share that equipment. Yeah. And then what's the last picture there?
Yes, the last picture is the famous Just Dance. Mm-hmm. And it's about to use the Just Dance game for our lessons, because the corporal expression is really important in our curricula in physical education. So we can use the game for give our students the access a digital environment and keep them centered in the steps, in the movement, in the interaction with them, with motivation. And also the teacher, we can do another role. We can assign tasks, we can give feedback for them, we can organize all. Could be another tool to working in group.
Awesome. So it looks like the next category is health and rehabilitation.
Yes, about health and rehabilitation is we have 2 examples. The first one is how we can use video games for people who have cancers or children with cancer, the video games have an important effect, analgesic effect in children with cancer. So they have a better recovery when they use extra games or video games, as we can see in their hospitals. And the second one is about...
So they have reduced reported lower levels of pain because of it's almost like a distraction from playing the video game?
Yes, they use low morphine level for their analgesic effect.
That's awesome.
Because they are playing and happy there. And yeah, so another example is about the extra game have different benefits. For example, in Parkinson, we have benefits in improving the motor skills and cognition skills in Parkinson. But here we have in the video, my question is, what we can do for our vaccination now in COVID-19, and how we can do for children's. And here we have an example how we can use virtual reality for engaged children to have a happy vaccination experience.
Yeah, so now they got the goggles on and now they're in a virtual world.
Yes, in a virtual world with different avatars that talk with them. And yes, the first part is using the codon, and the second one is at the same time.
Yeah, so the video gives the shot, but it's a character is giving the shot at the same time.
At the same time, yes.
Pretty neat.
It's really good.
All right. So let's look. The next category is inclusion and reconnection.
Yes, about inclusion. Here we have the first video in the left. It's about the using digital technology. As we can see, is a glass floor with people and children, or child with disability, and both of them with disability. So we can create inclusive games for both of them using these digital tools.
Is that a projector that's mounted above the floor shooting down?
No, it is from the...
Oh, so it's an interactive board that they're on top of.
Yes, I think that there are two versions. I think this one is from the floor interaction, and there are LED.
Yeah, I've seen light versions where it's a projector that shoots down on there. That's great. And so what's this other picture here for inclusion?
Yes, this is about reconnection, because our next challenge could be the people that live alone at home are now with the lockdown, what we could do with people that are alone at home, and also elderly people. For example, the UK government started a loneliness strategy for people who will live alone, and maybe video games and digital tools could have an influence to their future reconnection. We can reconnect with them using video games, online speaking, and using extra games, and motivate them to go forward.
Yeah, and I've read a lot of research about how particularly balance-based extra games for the elderly population helps with them following a training protocol a lot more than just providing them a sheet of paper with exercises, which is yeah, a great idea.
Yes, with extra games is really good also. And this is the activated public spaces, the last field, and it's about the first video, how we can reactivate people after pandemic, and how we could do in our cities to reactivate people and increase their physical activity levels. So the first video is about a big Tetris that we can play in a building in our cities. So maybe in groups, maybe individual. So it's a very big interaction and motivation for people going out now or during the lockdown or after the pandemic.
Awesome.
Could be. And this is another example interesting for our schools or for public spaces also, is a multi-ball solution. So this is a projection over this wide screen. And the interesting part of this product is we can throw different balls and elements over the screen and interact with them. It's also good for create different games, as we can see now, only throwing or playing, but the next step of this solution is to use it for sports.
And I see a major problem with this video here. The girl's stepping with the wrong foot here. So I could definitely, she's stepping with the same side as the throwing hand. So I could definitely see where a teacher could have almost like an authentic assessment where you could have a checklist of those specific motor skills and what are the critical elements of the movements while these kids are in a competitive environment like this. And so they could have a more formal assessment that's more authentic, which is pretty neat.
Yes, this is a promotional video, and they are playing only for the video, I think.
Yeah.
But in our lesson, we have to establish a goal and objectives there. So this picture is about how we can use it for tennis or other sports as handball or football.
And so it's more accuracy based. It looks like there's numbers on there, and then the instructor might tell them to aim for a certain number square on the pie chart there. Awesome. So what can health and physical educators do to facilitate health and ADL principles, Kevin?
Yeah, so the health and physical educators profiles have a very important work in the future of our ADL cities, because the physical activity and games are two main solutions that might be used by citizens. So our purpose from ADL team in concrete in this field for physical educations could be the first one, include in our lessons social interaction and digital education through physical activity. So the second one is the learn more about esports phenomenon, because it's growing very fast, and we have to establish a list of benefits and problems of video game use to include in our planification, to include in our lessons, how we can do to promote physical activity and healthy lifestyle in this population.
Yeah, I agree, because really, there's certainly negative problems with video gaming if you're sedentary too often, but if it's something that's pervading society, then how can we use video gaming to our benefit? I think that's a great point.
Yes, also they have a lot of injuries, and it's important to promote our profession, sports and exercise science, for an essential part of the esports athlete exit. So we have to be there. And the third one is we have to start introducing gaming culture terms, and maybe through gamification or using another methodology, as we can apply the flipped classroom, as we said. The fourth one is purpose new innovation programs in physical education. So maybe introducing apps, introducing video games, introducing different digital platforms. Maybe it could be expensive, but we have to try it. Sure. With the state. And the last one is to start multidisciplinary projects to promote physical activity in our cities. So not only with people from physical education, we have to be open-minded and interact with technology professionals and computer professionals, programmers, etc.
Awesome. Well, here are our references. Yeah, some of them. Yeah. Here are some more. And here is our Twitter handle. So if you enjoyed this presentation, we strongly encourage you to follow us on Twitter. You can see our Twitter handles there. Now, the other thing I want to mention is I am a Human Kinetics author. Recently, I co-authored this textbook, Technology for Physical Educators, Health Educators, and Coaches. It is by Human Kinetics, and you can find it on the Human Kinetics website. And we go through, it's a vast resource for how to improve your instruction, assessment, management, professional development, and advocacy through technology. Check it out. Kevin, you want to introduce your organization?
Yeah, so the last slide is about the Esports Talent Canarias. We are an association here from Canary Islands and in Spain. So we are international, and we are talking with international institutions. So we want to share information about gaming, esports, physical education, digital transformation, cities, physical activity in general, and a good use of digital tools. So you can follow us in all social networks in Esports Talent Can.
Yeah. And I think the last thing I want to mention is that we've talked about how technology can connect people, and Kevin and I connected through technology. We've never physically met each other. We met each other just through some professional organizations and Twitter and Discord. So there's a lot of positive things with technology. There's some negative things, but we got to try to figure out what are the benefits and the ways that we can use technology most effectively. So thanks so much for sharing your knowledge, Kevin. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much for all, and thank you. Bye.